Tons of talking, top rope walking, ultimate Xing, serious flexing, never be vague with your boy Craig, and opinion mixing from Peter Nixon. Keep doing things in an impactful way. Bloody nonsense, as the Brits say. Talking bloody nonsense.
Yes, it's me. It's the MIC Craig, aka Mr. Impact, joined as always by the one and only Peter Nixon. This is Talking Bloody Nonsense right here on the TBN channel, not for much longer. It's a new week, it's a new Impact, but first things first. Nixon, how's it going?
Much cooler than I was yesterday. For those listening in the States, we had record-breaking temperatures, and this might even sound tame to a lot of Americans. I don't know how hot it gets over here, but we had a record-breaking climate temperature yesterday over here, and the record was set at 40.3 degrees centigrade. Which is just mad. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit. I'll have to research that one. But yeah, it was pretty bad. But then it's been so humid here today as well. I've sweat as much today as I did yesterday. I don't know how you cope in the heat, Craig.
I mean, I like the heat. My family doesn't, but even that was too much for me. But I made the most of it. Went out with the fam on Saturday. Went to watch the new Thor film. Then went for a picnic in the park.
Very good. How's Thor?
Okay, but my opinion is that the Marvel movies have gone on too long, and this should be ended a long time ago. But maybe that's another thing for another podcast. Because of course, this week is Impact on Access TV. Coming up this week on Impact, we have Speedball Mike Bailey taking on Dina for the X Division Championship. Madison Rain got an envelope from Marsha Savage, meaning Marsha's going to kill her next. Alex Shelley takes on Chris Sabin in a number one contenders match for the Impact World Championship. Jordan Grace and Mia Yim take on Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo. And OGK of Honor No More take on Ace and Bay of the Bullet Club. So that's what's happening this week on Impact. But let's take a look at the power rankings from last week's Impact. Agree, disagree, let us know. It's over to power rankings with Datia.
Number 10, Tag Team Champions Bullet Club. Number 9, World Champion Jordan Grace. Number 8, the undefeated Masha Slamovich. Number 7, Tag Team Champions Team Ragnarok. Number 6, X Division Champion Mike Bailey. Number 5, Steve Macklin. Number 4, the Hot Mess Chelsea Green. Number 3, the Motor City Machine Guns. Number 2, PCO and Honor No More. Number 1, World Champion Josh Alexander.
And we are back. Now it's time to get into the main headline. This week being, it was in an article released yesterday, Eric Young came out and said that he feels the AEW and Impact relationship didn't work and it didn't really benefit Impact or AEW. I mean, that's been my feelings for quite some time, and I know it's the feelings of a lot of the Impact faithful. But are those your feelings? Did the relationship between AEW and Impact work? Was it necessary? Obviously, it was set the precedent for quite a lot of things happening, including Mickie James being in the Rumble and the Forbidden Door pay-per-view and so much more. But did it work? As a working relationship, did it work?
So I need to know, because I didn't read the article, This is all news to me. You are breaking this news to me right now. Was there any context as to why Eric Young said the partnership didn't benefit Impact?
I shall get the article up now so we can take a little look.
The reason I ask is because I think in some ways it did benefit Impact. It didn't really affect AEW's numbers, I wouldn't have thought. But when you look at pay-per-view buys specifically, Hard to Kill 2021 and that first Impact where Kenny Omega, pardon me, was, did that interview on the bus with Don after just winning the AEW World Championship. That did a big rating for Impact. And that first pay-per-view where we teamed with the Good Brothers against Moose, Sabin, and Swan.
Yes.
That did a big pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's Hard to Kill. That Hard to Kill was great. As far as EY, he went on a podcast and was asked about his dream matches beyond the Forbidden Door and spoke about the working relationship between both companies. He said, trying to find the exact quote. I don't think it worked out well as anyone kind of hoped it would have. I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities that could have gone back and forth both ways. But the reality is, as far as wrestling, and definitely as wrestling fans, there's not many rules as there used to be.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I think they're totally fair comments from Eric Young. There's things that AEW and Impact could have capitalized on, but just looking at those numbers, Impact did benefit, and it got a little bit of exposure as well when the first ever match in Rampage history was Christian Cage winning the Impact World title from Kenny Omega in an absolute banger. So there's things that could have been capitalized on, and things that were put on the table and then just totally removed, like Christopher Daniels. We've said it numerous times. He turned up, did one match with Mad Fulton, and then that was it. You thought it could have been setting up for Christopher Daniels finally, getting another shot and potentially winning the Impact World title, a title he never ever held. Considering his lineage in TNA, that would have been cool to see him get that opportunity. But just never happened. And there's still time. We had Frankie Kazarian on Slammiversary. There's always a chance that Christopher Daniels could pop up again. And I don't necessarily think the Forbidden Door. I'm a bit sick of that term now.
Yeah,
it's not closed as we know. I'm sure we'll see, people pop up, wherever.
Yeah.
But what's your take on it, Craig? Did it work? Did it benefit Impact at all?
When the question is, did it work? If you look at stats in terms of TV and pay-per-view buy rates, yes, it worked. Impact wanted to boost to TV and pay-per-view. They got it. But it felt like Impact did a lot more for that relationship than AEW did. Yes, they did a huge favor by putting over the Impact World title on the first ever Rampage match, first ever show of Rampage. But Impact never went to AEW unless you count was Against All Odds, Moose vs Kenny at Daily's Place.
Yeah.
That wasn't really AEW though. It was in the AEW building. Yeah. So I've always felt like in that situation, AEW tried to use Impact as their developmental territory. and they sent over a private party. They sent over a few former TNA guys, and obviously Sammy Guevara was meant to come over, but that's just a whole entire mess. And I'm grateful he didn't. But
Yeah.
Everyone watching knows, I've never been a fan of AEW. Admittedly, when Kenny won the AEW World title and they reached out that building and said, talk about on Impact this week, that got me. I nearly considered watching. I obviously watched the Impact, but I nearly considered watching AEW because of it. But then Tony Khan had to open his mouth and ruin it for me, which has been the case for a lot of times. I'm thinking about watching it. I'm close to watching it, and Tony Khan says something and it just puts me off. But I digress.
Yeah. So speaking of Tony Khan, when Tony was buying ad time on the Impact TV show, was that a work or a shoot, brother?
I mean, Impact wouldn't have aired it if it was if I don't think he was actually paying for airtime. I think it's a bit of the relationship there, but
well, yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because AEW never ever mentioned Impact, even when the Good Brothers were the World Tag Team Champions. I think they mentioned them once when they defended the belts against Evil Uno and Stu Grayson on Dynamite. That's the only time, and of course on that match on Rampage with Christian and Kenny Omega, but it's the only time you ever heard them talk about Impact or Impact talent. Rich Swann never ever got a name drop.
No, it was very much, it felt like AEW looked down on Impact. Maybe that was part of the storyline, but the fact it was never referenced, it hasn't been referenced since. I just think, I think it obviously, the relationship with AEW and Impact obviously started on good terms, and they clearly had a lot of ideas. It wasn't utilized very well by both sides, and Kenny Omega being Impact World Champion didn't do a lot for me. I've never been on the Kenny bandwagon. I don't think he's the best in the world. I don't think he's even close. He's entertaining, but I've never said or thought Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world, because 4 moves over and over again, I just don't get it. But that's just my opinion. I've said it many times, and I just don't think Kenny Omega, the world champion, didn't do anything for me. I was more hoping we got to see what Rich could do, but we never got to.
Right. I don't know if I've spoken about this on the show or not. I know I've spoken about it with someone, but Kenny being the world champion did work for me, and I think he brought a lot to the table, and he had some great matches as world champion. The match with Sami Callihan, I think, was the tip for me. The match against Swann, where he won the belt, I know he got like 4.5 stars, maybe just 4 stars in the Observer. Not that means anything, but Swann looked out of place in that match. I don't know if he was sick or injured or what, but Kenny was just on another level on that night, and I think Kenny is on another level in terms of most wrestlers on the planet. I'm not going to go out and be bold and say he's the best wrestler in the world, because that's subjective. He could be your favorite wrestler, but to say someone is the best wrestler in the world is ridiculous, unless it's a gimmick like CM Punk. I am a big fan of Kenny Omega. I think he's more than just 5 moves, like you say. He has had some tremendous matches I think his ability is incredible. I would say he's in my top 5 of all time. That's how high I rank Kenny Omega. But yeah, I've gone off track here. I've gone off on a tangent. I like Kenny Omega. I think he was a decent world champion. I wouldn't say he was the best world champion for Impact ever.
No.
But yeah, I can't just dismiss his reign because he had a nice 9-month reign.
It was
8 months, 9 months. Yeah.
It felt like it lasted the entire pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. He brought exposure at the time when Impact sort of needed it.
Yeah.
And
go
on.
Yeah, my issue if Kenny was, you mentioned these match with Swan there, and I agree. Rich Swann was off in that match. Don't know what it was. It was unfortunate because that match got a lot of eyes, and it didn't paint Rich Swann in the best light. And there was obviously the whole thing of you got to make each other look good and all that stuff. But in terms of Kenny, I just don't get the hype. I've never have. I never will. There's a lot of hype behind what he does, and honestly, I don't think he does anything different to the other quote unquote best in the world or in the conversation. There's nothing stands out for me for Kenny Omega. He's entertaining. Like during that time on Impact, he was very, very entertaining. I'll give him that. As a wrestler, didn't do anything for me. And now, the World Championship, it kind of frustrated me that it wasn't a signed Impact talent. But when it was Christian, I was happy because it felt like it was.
I was just one more point, and then we'll move on from this. But I was frustrated when we didn't get to see Kenny versus Josh. Like it felt like that's what they were building towards.
Yeah. They teased it. Never happened. But yeah, it's for me looking at it now, it didn't work. Not as well as it could have, and probably I'd say I think there's a window open to the Forbidden Door now. I think there's a window open. The door isn't there. It's a window now. If someone can get through it, cool. But I think that door is closed, but there's a window open. So now, speaking of Forbidden Doors, over the last, I'd say, post-pandemic, as well in terms in British wrestling, it feels like there's been a forbidden door opened, a door opened in British wrestling. Like companies such as Catch and Wrestle Carnival and Tidal had their championships defended on each other's shows, which that didn't really happen before the pandemic. If you've watched TBN Chats of Rio, we talked a little bit about it on there. But I want to get your take on this. Is this a thing now, or has it always kind of been a thing where promotions, independent British wrestling promotions, have been having their championships defended on other promotion shows? Has that always been a thing, or is it more of a thing now? What's your feeling on it?
Just in my experience, the companies I've been in and been around, there's a lot of egos in play. So if, for example, there's a show which is cross-promoted, like say, I don't know, Company A invades Company B, and they do like a Company A versus Company B show.
Yeah.
It would depend wherever this show is being held, if it's at the home venue of Company A, you can guarantee that Company A will be booked far more strong than Company B. And it something wrestling companies here in the UK are very guilty of is oversaturation of championship belts. So if a company has this many titles, then it just probably doesn't have room on a show for another company's championship belt. So I think that's the reason, just in my experience, that we haven't seen the Forbidden Door pushed more open than it is here in the UK. I think AEW could set a good example by working with New Japan, Impact, etc., AAA. And we could see the likes of Rev Pro working with Progress, because they're both, they're probably the two biggest companies in the UK.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, they kind of already are. The Sunshine Machine, TK Cooper, and Chuck Mambo are the Rev Pro and the Progress Tag Team Champions, and I believe Giselle was the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Champion and was the current, or was the Progress Women's Champion. Obviously, that's all changed now. But to a certain extent, they are, and I've seen online a lot of the Rev Pro guys showed up to Progress shows just as fans and went to watch the show all backstage. To a certain extent, they already are. But as I noticed, especially amongst with Wrestle Carnival, I think they're the Gary Ward has kind of pushed that, has opened the door as far as it is right now. The Catch Women's Championship, the first ever defense of that after Lizzie Evo won it, was on Wrestle Carnival show, and I believe Ivy defeated Rio for the title Women's Championship on Catch. So it kind of already is open, but as I interrupted you, as you were saying about companies working together and stuff.
Well, no, I finished making that point, but the Wrestle Carnival is an interesting one because it's a very new company which doesn't have many title belts. So to get that little bit extra exposure, it can benefit from showcasing other divisions' championships. Yeah. But yeah, that makes sense, I reckon.
Wrestle Carnival have 3 championships, 4 if they currently have 2 women's championships, the interim and the current one, which is held by Alex Bunzer. And the first defense of the Wrestle Carnival Pure Championship of Chris Ridgway is going to be on another show. I forget the name because I forgot to look it up, but it's an interesting one because British wrestling. Sometimes it feels like it's been against each other in some cases, but obviously now this UK scene is getting back to its peak before NXT UK came along. That the year before NXT UK hit in the UK tournaments. What's your feelings on that? Is it getting back to where it was? Obviously, it took a bit of a dive. Obviously, during start of the pandemic, during speaking out, which was a great thing. But this scene has had to rebuild itself again when it had just started to rebuild.
Yeah, I feel like NXT UK and then the speaking out movement has been a massive detriment to the British scene. And the speaking out movement needed to happen. It certainly wasn't a bad thing. it was good to weed these people out of the business, even though some of them are trying to worm their way back in. I noticed a certain someone is popped up in Battle Arts in Canada. Don't know if you know about this. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm not gonna.
pretty aware.
I'm not gonna, talk about it or mention his name because he doesn't
No.
warrant the airtime. But again, off on a tangent. I think British wrestling is, building its way back up from. You're right. It got to a point where it was up and up and up, and Progress and ICW and RevPro and all these big companies are really working hard to bring British wrestling back up to a certain level, and it's been knocked down a peg, but it's back, on its way up again. And if more companies can work together, then it'll work to getting British wrestling back up to where it was, and then further up.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of more examples, but Colin Russell Ames, the general manager and ring announcer for Kamikaze Pro, was ring announcer at Wrestle Carnival's last show, Ringmasters, and obviously independent contractors getting booked shows it probably just that, but in particular Gary Ward, he's not just trying to build relationships with the UK scene. He's also got their first anniversary show in August. They're working with Pro Wrestling Noah, and he's also got a good relationship with Impact Wrestling, and did have a good relationship with Ring of Honor. Don't know if that's going to go ahead, but I assume it must be still good if Wrestle Carnival are allowed to have a pure division, use the Pure Rules name. So it is getting back up there, and just hope nothing comes along where it stalls momentum again, because British wrestling is on fire right now. And I mean, I'm hopefully going to my first ever Progress show in September.
Nice.
And
what's the occasion?
Hopefully, no, it's just the first time back in the Midlands in years. So, and plus, want to go support TK Cooper. Seems to be a thing now. And ICW are coming down to Newcastle in October. We call to get over there, hopefully, because the scene is on fire. You've got, as I mentioned, Wrestle Carnival versus Pro Wrestling Noah. We've got GCW versus TNT, which is going to be incredible. And hope, I think they've only announced. I don't think they've announced a match so far, but coming at TNT soon. Hope it's Visage against, I can't remember who they're facing. It's Visage, but if they win, they get to face Effie. Visage versus Effie would be a cracking match. You've got Matt Cardona coming over, Joe Janela coming over, and whoever else they announce. And TNT have some incredible talent. Lexus Falcon, who again is having a great couple years, just won the Queen of the Ring tournament with Rev Pro, and you've got Dan Maloney, part of the TNT champion, and it's all going well, and just touch wood, nothing else happens to stop momentum, because it's going really well, and I'm excited to watch it and be a part of it by talking about it, and hopefully be a part of it as if I can figure out this whole ring announcement thing. Who knows? But that's the Brit Rest covered for another week. Now we're going to go over to something I didn't even know needed to be talked about, but it seems amongst the Impact fan groups, seems to be a discussion that's popped up a couple of times. Josh Alexander as Impact World Champion. A few people, and it's only a few, have called it boring. Because this Josh Alexander's World Title run of being boring, even though it only started a few months ago. So I want to take a look at his World Title run so far, and obviously we can't compare it to anyone's because it's still in its early days. But how have you looked at Josh's World Title run so far? The list of the opponents. I know they haven't really built feuds. It's just been number contenders and then a match with a tiny feud in between. But what's been your take on Josh's Impact World Champion?
Well, you said it already. He hasn't had time to prove himself as a world champion yet. He hasn't had a lengthy run. He's had it since Rebellion, which is in April.
Yeah.
Had it since April. Yeah, so he's had for 3 months. He's done 3 pay-per-views or Impact Plus specials as world champion. The match against Ishii, I maintain, is the best match of the year so far for Impact Wrestling. And the match against Eric Young at Slammiversary was the best match on that show, considering it was the main event. It should have been.
Yeah.
The match against Joe Doring was not the best.
No.
It was fine for what it was, but yeah, it's the sooner Josh moves away from Violent by Design, the better for him. And I know he's going to be defending at Emergence against either Chris Sabin or Alex Shelley, which is going to be a blinder.
Oh.
But yeah, I think the reason people are saying Josh's title reign has been boring so far, which is absolute nonsense, is because of the lack of challenges that have been set up for him.
Yeah.
The only realistic challenger that's been set up was Eric Young and Violent by Design. That's the only feud he's had. Obviously, he had the whole Moose feud leading up to him winning the championship, which lasted 6 months and was a great storyline. But since then, he's kind of been floating. Violent by Design, and that's pretty much it. And I can't see who they can possibly build up to be Josh's next big challenger. Because let's face it, whoever it is, Sabin or Shelley, Josh is probably 99% going to retain.
Yeah.
The only realistic point I can see him losing the title would be Bound for Glory. But even then, I think he needs to hold it past then.
Yeah.
And I know people are going to say Steve Macklin, but he's just entering a feud with Sami Callihan.
Yeah.
And
Not ready yet.
Is it too soon for Macklin anyway? I would argue no, but I know a lot of people, the Booker man, Alec Burnett, being one of them, saying that it's too soon for Macklin. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something he can do with Bullet Club. But
Maybe.
even then,
Yeah,
Austin's the only realistic person I could see beating Josh Alexander for the championship out of Bullet Club, because they're not going to put it on Chris Bay, not at this rate.
No. It's Josh as world champion. It has gone essentially from one match to another with build, but not a lot of feud. But we know they've been killer matches, and yet for world championship champion, having great matches isn't always what you need to do. But when you've got Josh Alexander, who is in the conversation for one of the very best right now, and for me is the best right now. It's, you can take a look at everyone he's beaten. I think this reign is going to be, look, when it eventually comes to an end, and it's looked back on, it'll be about who he faced, the names he beat along the way as world champion, which it's like we've said it many times, but it's a good list, been a very, very good list, and it's coming up at Ric Flair's final match. He's facing Jacob Fatu, and they could have kill each other. And I cannot, and part of me wants to order it, but part of me can't afford it. Yes, Devil J, and of course Jay Lethal.
That's JFF. Ha ha.
Yeah, but as far as Josh as world champion has been, to say it's boring, that's a bit too far for me. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and this is just ours. But it's been far from boring. Josh Alexander, coming from being one half of the longest reigning tag team champions in Impact history, then going on to have one and a half, if not the best X-Division title reign in how many years? Gone to being world champion, which, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. This is the one that breaks Bobby Roode's record. This is the one. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen with Josh Alexander. And just, it's Sabin versus Shelley, obviously coming off on Impact tonight, which is going to be such a good match. And then that winner goes on to face Josh Alexander at Emergence. That's a match of the year candidate right there before it's even happened. Take your pick. That's a match of the year candidate. So I think it is very early. But as you mentioned, Steve Macklin, I agree with Alec. I think it is a little bit too soon. I really rate Macklin, but this reign with Josh, I'm expecting it to last for a very, very long time. And when Macklin gets his shot at the world title, he has to win it. And I just don't want Josh's reign ending before Hard to Kill.
Mm.
I can't see it ending before Hard to Kill. But we talked a bit about it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about, a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about potential Bound for Glory matches, early Bound for Glory predictions. Wouldn't it be awesome? And this is way out of left field. But wouldn't it be cool if Josh defended, if the Forbidden Door was flung open again and Josh was able to defend against Will Ospreay? That would be the match of the year.
Yeah.
I'd love to see their styles mesh.
See, I genuinely believe they could put it together. Ospreay, there's no way Ospreay will turn that one down. Yeah, you can. I'm sure people will say, he's coming to a venue of about 300 people, but he does that in Rev Pro, whereas the British World Champion,
yeah,
he does that. In he did that at I forget the name. Warrior Wrestling, where again he's the Warrior Wrestling World Champion. I think Ospreay would be a great challenger, and even though he wouldn't win it, because like I said, Josh, I would put money on it that this reign goes till Hard to Kill. But it's wrestling. Anything can and usually does happen. But like I said, I think this reign will be looked back on as the names of the people Josh Alexander beat. Even before he got the world title, beat Minoru Suzuki. He beat Charlie Haas. He beat Khan. He's beaten
Jonah.
Jonah, of course. I could put Jonah. Look at those people. And Josh, he is in the conversation for the best in the world. And yeah, there hasn't really been much story as with him as world champion. But if you're a wrestling fan, this has been a wrestling world championship. A title that's been put in wrestling matches. But like I said, a storyline has to come along soon. But it's just who do you have it with? Who is there that can be a viable challenger right now? So you've obviously got a few months for the Josh versus Saban or Shelley, or maybe both.
There's every chance we see a three-way at one point, Josh versus Saban and Shelley. But you're right. There's plenty of time to build a new challenger, and knowing the people that book Impact, they must have a plan in place.
Yeah.
I know it looks directionless at the moment, but in the back of their mind, they've got a plan for who challenges at Bound for Glory.
Oh yeah, they've must have something in mind by now. And I know it's not that would be targeted around Bound for Glory, but they've just filmed some more TV tapings, and the Ric Flair show is coming up very soon. Maybe we do get Jacob Fatu pop up in Impact. Maybe. I could see it certainly happening. Now the MLW and Impact relationship is kind of back on track.
Yeah, I saw Sammy Callahan was in Battle Riot.
Yeah. So I think maybe they could build up a feud between Josh and Jacob Fatu, which I'm all for.
I'm getting.
Give it to me, right? But just people are very, very quick to judge lately, and you can't judge something when it's only just started. I feel like I say this a lot on this channel, but you can't judge something when it's only just started. I mean, Josh has had 3-4 challenges for world title. We much gets Moose, then Ishii, then
Eric Young, then Joe Dory.
Yeah. So just chill a bit. Impact do have a plan. RD Evans, from what I've seen, is unbelievably creative. And I know Jimmy Jacobs is a minute's focused on the around stuff, which was brilliant last week. Just want to put that out there. I love it, always love it. But then you've got Lance Storm, you've got Scott D'Amore, you've got Chris Sabin working backstage, you've got Rhino working backstage, like Gail Kim and Madison Rain and Christy Hemme. It's so many people.
Tommy Dreamer,
D'Lo Brown. List goes on, and those people have a plan. So just wait and see what happens. Don't get me wrong, Moose was Moose's Runners World Champion was great. I loved every second of it. But I knew it was going to end because it was time for Josh. I knew Moose's World Title was going to end before it really got started. But now it's over, I can look back on it and say that was great. And their feud, for me, is feud of the year. Not just in Impact, but in wrestling in general. It was feud of the year. It had Moose had that heel heat, and everyone hated him for what he did about For Glory. So, and people are still pissed off to this day. So, essentially, they did a great job. Just wait and see what happens. But we talked about it a couple weeks ago. But okay, we'll give our quick prediction for Sabin and Shelley. Who is it? Who do you see it? Yeah.
Purely because we've seen Josh versus Sabin last year for the X Division title. I think it will be Josh and Shelly this time.
See, I want it to be Sabin because Chris Sabin is my favorite wrestler. He's, Chris Sabin, when he won the world title in 2013, that was the first time I ever got fully invested in someone winning a world title. And when it got taken away from him, I was fuming. He deserved a longer run than that. He'd earned a longer run than that. Even though it's not going to happen when if he faces Josh. But honestly, I think it'll be a triple threat. I think something will happen tonight as you're watching, and I reckon we get a triple threat for the world title.
Do you reckon they'll go time limit draw?
I don't know, but I think something is going to happen. And I can't wait for it because it's just going to be so damn good. I suppose with that, let's take it on over to the final 10, or final 15, whatever you want to call it now. But it's full disclosure, as mentioned at the top of the podcast, it's unbelievably hot over here. And let's come up for final 10. I thought we'd play a little game. Played it before one of the very first episodes of the podcast. So we'll bring it back as we're in episode 31 now, which is insane. We're going to play a little bit of Who Am I? So I think of a current or former Impact wrestler. Nixon has 20 questions to get the name of who I'm thinking of, and then Nixon comes up with someone, and I have to try and figure out who it is within 20 questions. So, do you have anyone in mind, or can we start?
No.
Okay.
I'll start.
Okay. So, currently in Impact?
Yes.
Former world champion?
Yes.
Knockouts?
Yes.
Current. Is it Mickey James?
No.
Okay. That's 4 questions. So, are they a Knockouts tag team champion?
No.
Okay. Would you consider them a future Hall of Famer?
That's too hard to say. I'm going to discount that as a question.
Okay. So, Knockouts world champion, currently in Impact. Not a former Knockouts Tag Team Champion. Were they in TNA?
Yes.
The Chelsea Green?
No.
Oh, this is a toughie. Ooh. And they're currently on the roster, former Knockouts World Champion in TNA, not a Knockouts Tag Team Champion. Microphone. Speaking of TNA,
Oh yeah, Russo.
they're not but the Knockouts champion. Are they currently involved in a feud?
Yeah.
They're in. Is it Diana?
No.
No. Oh, okay. This is really a tough one. Not for Knockouts World, TNA, Impact. Not held on the tag titles. Currently involved in a feud. So I'm trying to go for the Knockouts right now. Figure out who it could possibly be. Not Diana. It's not Chelsea. It's not Mickey. Can't be Tasha Steelz. Oh, I think I'm going to ask for a clue. I say we get 3 clues if we need them.
Okay. You'll kick yourself when I tell you. That's your clue.
Okay. Kick myself. See, now I'm really trying to go through the knockouts. They weren't knockouts tag team champion, but they're in TNA. The knockouts were not tag team champion. I don't know if, well, there aren't that many knockouts. I should know. There really aren't that many knockouts. There should be some more I can think of, but my mind has gone blank. Okay. Have they feuded over Knockouts title recently?
Yes.
Okay. So recent number contender, recent knockout contender. Who do they face who was Knockouts World Champion when they faced them?
That's not a yes or no question, Craig.
Come on. Okay, was Deonna Purrazzo the champion when they feuded?
No.
The Korean Impact, it didn't feud with Deonna, so was it before Deonna Purrazzo's second reign or during her first reign? Or after her second reign?
Okay. I'm going to count this as a clue. She challenged Tasha Steelz for the title recently.
Okay, so Tasha didn't have that many challenges. It's not Rosemary.
No.
No, she's current Knockouts champion, tag team champion, so can't be. I just missed the question on that one. Chris Tasha. I'm really trying to think about who challenge Tasha? Did they challenge Tasha on a Plus special?
No.
I'm guessing it was on TV.
No.
So Mia Yim.
It was Mia Yim. She was in Queen of the Mountain.
Okay.
She's the current #1 contender for the title. So yes, she is feuding at the moment.
Okay. That's a good one. I should have figured that one out.
You got it in
Very good.
15.
Okay, so it's 15 to beat, and you have 3 clues if needed. And go for it. Ask away.
Am I male?
Yes.
Am I currently with Impact Wrestling?
No.
Am I a former world champion?
Yes.
Was I in TNA?
Yes.
As well as Impact Wrestling?
I'll say yes, because technically yes.
Ooh, okay. Am I a former tag team champion?
Yes.
I don't know why, but I've got this feeling. Am I James Storm?
No.
Am I white?
Yes.
I
Thank you.
asked a question about the tag titles. I can't remember what the answer was.
Yes. Our former tag team champ.
Okay. Former. No. Did I ever main event Bound for Glory?
Now, that is a tough one. I'm now trying to think whether they got the. I don't think ever main evented. No.
Okay. Was I the world champion past 2010?
Yes.
Hmm. Am I more known as a singles wrestler as opposed to a tag team wrestler?
Yeah. I think people know singles. Yeah.
Former world champion. Not currently in Impact. White. TNA world champion. Former tag team champion. Held the belt in the 2010s. Didn't main event Bound for Glory. Was I an X Division champion?
No.
Ooh.
Not X Division.
Do I wrestle anywhere else currently?
Yes.
Am I Sting?
No.
Oh dear. Okay. I'm going to have to get a clue, Craig.
Okay. I don't think this will give it away, so I'll use this one. during one of the tag team title reigns, a lot of people were very unhappy when it happened.
During one of this person's tag team title reigns, it made a lot of people unhappy.
Mhm.
God, bugger me, this is tough. Made a lot of people unhappy when he was a tag team champion. Well, I would say Eric Young, because that made a lot of people unhappy when he was Knockouts tag team champion. But that can't be correct. I can't think of any tag team title reigns that made people unhappy apart from when Pac-Man Jones was the tag team champion. Let's have another clue.
Okay. When I said during one of the tag team title reigns, people weren't happy, don't necessarily think of Impact or TNA World Tag Team Champions.
So probably a WWE tag team title reign that made people unhappy. Yeah. Was it a WWE tag team title reign that made people unhappy?
No, it wasn't WWE.
Okay. Well, you beat me on this round. I'm gonna have to start naming former world champions, and I hope I get it. Am I Jeff Hardy?
No.
Am I Matt Hardy?
No.
Am I Austin Aries?
No. And you do still have one final clue.
Go on then. I've got two questions left.
Main Event Mafia.
Am I Kurt Angle?
No. See your brain working.
Right, so
come on.
It's not Sting. It's not Kurt Angle. It can't be Kevin Nash. He wasn't TNA World Champion. It can't be Scott Steiner. It's not Booker T. So it's either Samoa Joe or Nick Aldis. And considering Nick Aldis was never an X Division champion, it's Nick Aldis.
It's Nick Aldis.
Jesus, I got it in 20.
It was Nick Aldis. Of course, referring to the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team title change, which pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, they switched the belts without telling New Japan.
Yes. That relationship's only just been fixed in the last 5 years. So.
Yeah.
So,
bloody hell. God, that
there
was
we have
stressful.
it. That was a bit of fun to wrap up the podcast. This has been a podcast. Hope you enjoyed watching this. It's been episode 31, and I can't believe on episode 31. That's awesome. So thank you everyone for watching and sticking with us. If you've watched the Mothership with Jeff and Max finally returning, I had an announcement. There's some things happening with the channel changing soon. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, of course, follow us here, there, everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you podcast. Of course, all episode TBN chat's available. Working on more guests. If everyone you want us to have on, drop in the comments, tag us on Twitter. If you want them on, we'll try our absolute best to get them on for you. I've been the MIC. It's been Nixon, and will continue to be Nixon. Until next time, goodbye, my friends.